Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today what we have is a Star Wars comic pack, one of the older ones. And how I got this is Walmart had a huge clearance section, and they had, among a lot of other things, something that looked like it sort of slipped through the cracks. This old comic pack, and as you can see, the packaging is just really, it's been put through the ringer. And it was pretty cheap on clearance, so I thought, well, this would be a good opener. I mean, I know this has probably been reviewed a lot, and but nonetheless, I think this is a really interesting comic pack. Some of them, comic packs, in my opinion, range from really interesting to really bizarre. Because as you know, if you read the comics, the stories can get pretty out there. But this one looks pretty interesting because you have Luke Skywalker in a Imperial officer disguise, and he's disguised as Lieutenant Jundland. And it also comes with Deena Shan, a female Imperial officer. So for nothing else, at least you can army build your Imperial officers a little bit. So, and you get a free comic. And at the price I paid, it was less than one action figure. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this review. So I looked on eBay just to see if this has any value, and these are only going for like $15 new. So I'm not really going to regret opening this. Let's just go over the packaging. There's a picture of Lieutenant Jundland, and since I haven't read the comic, I'm assuming this is the real Lieutenant Jundland because this doesn't look anything like Luke Skywalker. And on the other side, there's a picture of Deena Shan. And she's kind of comic book looking here, whereas the figure is pretty realistic looking. There's also a sticker for Celebration 5 VIP tickets in August of 2010 in Orlando, Florida. So it goes to show that this is, kind of an old package. Let's turn it over and look at the back. Like the older comic packs. And actually, they don't make comic packs anymore, which is kind of sad because I really liked these. There's sort of a redded, grayed out comic panel. And then it has a picture of the figures, some of the other comic packs available. And then it has a brief story here. It says, as part of a rebel mission to rescue Joran Sol from the Imperial base on Callist 6, Luke Skywalker pretends to be Imperial officer Lieutenant Jundland. He unexpectedly encounters an old friend from Tatooine whose knowledge of Luke's true identity may jeopardize the mission. Meanwhile, Deena Shan leaks false information about the Rebels' base to lure Imperial forces into a trap, but at a heartbreaking cost to her. And if you can glean from the back of this that the old friend Luke meets is Tank, who he mentions in Episode 4, who is now apparently an Imperial officer. So, anyway, this looks like an interesting comic, and I think the comic packs were kind of a way to stoke your interest in buying the comics, because they would take an interesting story from the comics, present it, take the issue, and then construct a couple figures, and then hopefully you would read the comic and want to learn the whole story and start buying Star Wars comics, which there are some really good ones. I've only opened a couple other comic packs. This is one you probably recognize, the Legacy one. I opened it because the figures looked really interesting. It had Darth Talon, and this was just and actually I read this comic and it was just a really good story. And when I have the time, when I'm not working or doing volunteer work, I've been doing a lot of that lately because of the tornadoes. I'd like to just sit back and read some of these. But anyway, let's go ahead and open this one. So it's gonna be kind of hard to open a comic pack without the packaging's already pretty much destroyed. So okay, let's take out the comic first. And Star Wars Empire. And at the end of the review, we'll look at the art in greater detail. Okay, we got 2 nice Star Wars action figures here. And I'm going to review them. If you are interested in getting one of these, you can either try to find one in your Walmart, or these are pretty easy to get on eBay or Amazon. Sorry about that. Okay, and there is a lightsaber that comes with it as well. Okay, let's start with the Luke. First of all, I want to see if his hat's removable, and it is. It's actually molded from flesh-colored plastic, which makes it kind of weird looking on the inside, if you can see that. But it does fit nicely. The head sculpt is, I think I've seen this on another figure, but kind of resembles Mark Hamill. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad. The articulation, he has those really annoying elbow joints that really look bad no matter what. You're really confined to just this pose, a bent elbow pose. I really don't like that. I think a lot of collectors hate this type of articulation. I'm really glad that they've pretty much done away with it in favor of the ball joints. So he has swivel shoulders and these awful swivel elbows. If you pull too hard, you end up popping them out. He has a ball jointed neck. Swivel hips, pretty much constrained by his tunic. No articulation in the knees or ankles. So I'm going to go ahead and guess and say that this is a repaint with a different head of another Imperial officer, and I can't recall which one, so feel free to leave that in your comments. He has a Stormtrooper blaster and a lightsaber with a peg. Or no, actually it's not a peg, it's just the lightsaber. And he would only be able to hold it with this hand right here, as this hand is open and kind of a... Now that's kind of cool because he can sort of salute, but not really. Articulation wise, this is not a very good articulated figure. Now let's look at what is her name? Deena Shan. Now she also has a removable hat that's molded with gray plastic, fortunately, not flesh colored plastic. She has a nice face sculpt, ball jointed neck. She actually has, let me go back. No, his shoulders were swivel. Her shoulders are ball hinged. And she has ball hinged elbows, which makes her far superior articulation wise than the Luke. Swivel waist, and he did have a swivel waist. Forgot to point that out. Swivel hips, ball hinged knees, and she has ball hinged ankles. So articulation wise, she is a much better figure for your value here. So definitely the better of the two. Now, either way, it's still pretty cool to have these. You could even, if you just want to do some army building, you don't necessarily have to say this is Luke, because the face sculpt is not too convincing. But so you have these two figures. Now let's look at the comic, and I also have this one for comparison purposes. Okay, if you looked at the Star Wars Legacy, the art is it's got deep color. It's just very rich and full of shadow and texture, whereas the art in this is more comic-y, cartoony, exaggerated features. Sometimes I think that the tone of the comic, the art reflects the tone. For example, if you got the Ewok comic pack, the art in that was very childlike, and it was also a kid's comic, so to speak. And I'm gonna guess that this is probably a little bit more of a younger oriented comic, whereas the Legacy is a little bit more mature. So nonetheless, it does look like an interesting read. and I'm glad I have this one. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. And until next time, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.